I want you to look at this article from 2001. George Gurley, a journalist for Vanity Fair, stumbled across an event in Rosemont, Illinois, but this wasn't a normal thing you'd see every day. This was a furry convention, and what he found was disturbing. He said that judging from the Midwest FurFest, this was no hobby. It's sex, it's religion, it's a whole new way of life. Essentially saying this group of young adults dress up in animal costumes and have sex. No. Look, I'm not saying that stuff never happens, but to have one experience with a group of people and then say that hundreds of thousands of people are exactly like that, seriously, come on. Giving an argument with no evidence or proof from one experience is so misleading. We don't even know what a furry is, and he's saying the convention is a cult around sex. Media misportraying groups and minorities has happened repeatedly, and unfortunately this specific group has been targeted over the last 2 decades. Furries aren't what you think they are, and here's why. But wait, what even is a furry? I'm this far into the video and I haven't even explained what I'm talking about. Let's take a step back. So according to actual research papers, they all seem to agree that furries are part of a fandom surrounding anthropomorphism, quote, the attribution of human characteristics or behavior to a god, animal, or object. In this case, it'd be animals with more human characteristics. Here's a quote from Ben Silverman that I think explains it best. The furry fandom is a loose-knit online subculture of fans devoted to anthropomorphic animal characters. Furries aren't necessarily fans of specific media properties, but instead often create their own media, including the Fursona, an anthropomorphic animal character to represent oneself in the community. The reason they're called the furry fandom is because they simply have a culture around creating anthropomorphic characters, personification. That's basically it. So these conventions are where furries can meet up with friends, go to panels, just like any other convention. But they cosplay as their fursona with a fursuit. But this has the same problem as the journalist earlier, right? This isn't evidence, this is me talking to you. Well, a researcher for Furscience conducted a study in 2021 asking roughly 1,000 furries to define what it means to be a furry in their own words. This was the chart they ended up with afterwards. This confirms the explanation from Ben Silverman. Furries enjoy the fandom because it's a community of people who enjoy the same thing, an interest in anthropomorphic animals/animal characters. Sex or kink doesn't even make it into the top 10 most popular reasons, supporting the idea that furries aren't a cult around sex like George Gurley said. So if this is the truth about furries, why has the perception of them been so bad? Well, there are 2 main reasons: internet cringe/cancel culture and misleading media.
Secretly infiltrating furry Discord servers.
Do you guys know where the orgy convention is?
You guys like film like pornos on that? Loki looks like a good porno cam.
Can you bark?
What?
Aren't you supposed to bark? Isn't that like a thing furry people do? I'm a fake furry!
These folks were asking for their food to be delivered in bowls on the ground so they could eat it like animals.
I am not making fun of furries. I do not kink shame. I don't care. Whatever makes you happy.
Kids dressing up as furries and demanding litter boxes in school bathrooms.
They asked for a litter box in the lobby. Now, they didn't put a litter box into the lobby, but someone, according to this man, asked him for a litter box. I'm like, that is crazy.
It's called something called Furries. School children dress up as animals, cats or dogs, during the school day. They meow and they bark. Schools are wanting to put litter boxes in the schools for these children.
Let's be honest here. If someone had no exposure to furries before, this would be their first ideology behind who and what they are, a group of weirdos. A great example of this is an episode from CSI titled Fur and Loathing from 2003, which promoted the stereotype that furries are sexual deviants who dress up in animal costumes and one of the main characters literally says, in quote, "Okay, well, I've heard of some guys getting off in some weird ways, but humping an animal suit, well, whatever happened to normal sex?" The writers intentionally included this misinformation to add dramatic effect to the series about crime. But as one of the first times furries were introduced into mainstream media, this was a huge setback. Not only does this make the audience think they're into with animal costumes, but it potentially sets up a darker tone, suggesting that furries may be into worse things, such as bestiality. While this is quite an old example, social media still makes furries seem related to a set of interests that don't correlate with the fandom itself. Look at this section of Ben Silverman's paper that I quoted earlier. New furries are now encountering the fandom through much less directed and specific avenues. Instead of coming into contact tangentially with Fursona accounts of social media, one of his friends, Rex, tells him about a regular occurrence when posting on his artwork on Tumblr. My art would often get reblocked by gay porn accounts. The followers of those gay porn accounts may see Rex's artwork and suddenly become aware of the furry fandom through a completely unrelated set of interests. And unfortunately, this has been some people's first interaction with the furry fandom. To me, this seems like a case of correlation, but not causation. Sexual interests and furries seem to correlate together, but this doesn't mean that a furry causes this. However, social media goes further than this because of internet cringe culture. Furries have been so targeted on the internet, with clowns literally going out of their way to harass them and post videos about it since it's so funny. Something very apparent that I see nobody talk about is that furries are held to a double standard when compared to other fandoms. Think of anime conventions. What do people do at these conventions? Of course, they show up for panels, hang out with friends, etc.
Yo, what the fuck?
But a portion of people go to conventions for sex. And it's not just anime or furry conventions. A lot of times, this is the same for any kind of fandom that has a multi-day convention, yet furries are the ones who are called out for doing the exact same thing. There isn't much data about this, but media posts across different platforms agree people tend to be flirtier and hook up at conventions through networking, whether it be for anime, cosplay, or furry conventions. I believe the reason for this is that fandoms surrounding these have a lot of diversity, including LGBTQ. Look at these graphs. All these studies were done at large conventions for anime fans and furries, and both groups have a large amount of LGBTQ people in them. Although furries are higher, anime fans are still much higher than the control group, being sports fans. And I think this environment of people with the same interests and sexuality towards each other leads to this trend. I'd say the reason for this is the similarity attraction effect, a psychology term where individuals who have more in common are more likely to be attracted to each other. I believe this is the reason why a lot of people tend to hook up at any sort of convention, and it would explain why it extends to furries as well. Humans feel more comfortable around others who share similar interests, and when they share similar sexual interests, it's inevitable that the topic of sex will probably come up, potentially leading to hooking up. So what am I trying to say? I'm saying that furries aren't the odd ones out when it comes to conventions, and this is a general thing within fandoms who are mostly LGBTQ. The fundamental reason behind being a furry isn't about sex, for most furries, but there is no doubt that there is a correlation between furries and sexual interests, just like other fandoms. So will we ever get rid of stigma and misinformation about furries? No. Internet cringe culture will always find a way to target a group, and they will most likely still target furries for media entertainment.
Wait, you forgot your drinks.
However, I think it has gotten much better over the past couple years, and you can really see it when you do look up furries on the internet. But why does any of this even matter? Why should it be important that you understand a fringe group? Well, something like this could happen to any group in reality. It's easy to mock what you don't fully understand, and furries are an example of this in our society. Although being a furry is somewhat strange, that doesn't mean it's bad. There are weird furries that cause stereotypes to spread, but that's the same within any group, especially on the internet. Comparing thousands of people to a singular example isn't just inaccurate, it's harmful. Don't target others for being themselves, don't make fun of people expressing themselves in a harmless hobby, and don't assume things without getting the full picture, like the real data and research. Furries aren't what you think they are, and that is why.
A year ago today, I was going through a phase. Now none of that shit really phases me anymore. Mint tea in my cup, no more coffee in the morning, no more drink in my cup, drug free and I'm loving it. Meditate in the morning, wrote a way that I listen to bird song, they just sound come on my psyche.